All right, everybody. Thank you all for joining in. We are here for another episode of Closed Captions. Give it up, give it up, give it up.
Woo, woo, woo.
I don't know what that was, but yeah. So
your inner Cardi B? I don't know.
So today we're going to do things a little bit differently. And we are actually going to break it down into a 3-person group instead of our 4-person that we normally have.
I'm Natasha. I'm a licensed social worker. My specialty is trauma and mental health. My social media is Natasha_Dezoni, DEZONIE. And you can find my business page, which is holistic_project.
Right. I'm Osiris Anthem. I'm a rapper and a teaching artist. I teach rap and poetry to kids. What else? Yeah, I'm out here, you know. Find me on Instagram at Maroon Waters, MAROONWATERS, and on Bandcamp on the SoundCloud, Osiris Anthem, OSYRISANTHAM.
Greetings, I'm Janelle Naomi. You can find me everywhere, Janelle Naomi, and at janellenaomi.com. I am a special education teacher.
So we got a healer, we got an orator, and we got a teacher. And I feel like all of y'all things are mixed in one.
Nice.
So today, right, we're going to touch on something that everybody's been wanting to talk about. Everybody has been talking about a little bit. But and we're not touching on this directly, but we are going to frame our conversation on this. But today is Black forgiveness. That is the topic of our conversation. And we are going to frame this around a recent incident. I don't know if that's what we should call it, but the Jussie Smollett incident. I know y'all are just raving to hear about Jussie Smollett for another time. Anyway, so the concept of Black forgiveness. Before we delve into Jussie specifically, I want each of you to tell us what Black forgiveness, or just forgiveness in general, means to you. Let's not even frame it in the Black aspect. We already know what we're talking about. So, forgiveness, what does it mean to you? It means silence.
Okay, I can go.
Go ahead.
There's this quote, because I'm like a quote junkie, that says forgiveness is letting go of wishing that the past could be different. So in my experience, I feel like forgiveness is for you. It's for you to release that the past could be different, or just release that pain that you're holding against the other person. Just to free yourself up. And it's not for the other person. Doesn't mean that you condone what that person did, but for your own sanity, your inner peace. You're releasing that. So that's what has worked for me.
Okay.
Bring me out of freedom internally.
Excellent. And since we're going in order now, just make it easy.
Forgiveness is just, you know, letting, like she said, letting go of a feeling that you may have for somebody due to a wrong that they may have done to you or to someone close to you or someone you care about. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Hello. I have a story that makes me...
Okay.
Okay, great. So these 2 monks were walking in the woods, and monks shouldn't pick up a woman, right? But they came across a woman when they were about to cross a stream, and the woman needed help getting across the stream. And so one of the monks picked her up and helped her get over, and they kept walking after they left her. And the one monk, after they had walked some miles, says to the other monk, "Why did you pick up that woman? You know, you weren't supposed to do that, blah, blah, blah." And the other monk says, "Are you still carrying her? I put her down miles ago." And I think about when you talk about release and letting go, it's just, this is what was the past. I either choose not to engage with you, even though I forgive you, or I choose to engage with you because I forgive you. But either way, I let go of whatever thing I didn't like. So that's what I think of.
Okay. So we got 2 answers, a story with an answer. I like that. So I'm going to add to that, not add, but expand on it for you guys with a question. What do you believe is better or more beneficial, or do you feel is necessary to forgive and forget, or forgive and not forget? We'll start with Janelle this time.
Oh boy. I don't think it's wise to forgive and forget. I think we experience things for a reason, and they help guide us moving forward. I think about the principle of Sankofa. You know, I think about we should be going back and thinking about not just what happened to us in this lifetime, but what happened to us millennia ago, you know, and being really in tune with that. It is also for us to really think about what matters in our legacy in the long run. So we don't want to, you know, forgive and not forget and then hold on to the thing, because then that's not really forgiving, right? So in the long run, what does this thing matter? Like, are you able to let it go and still build with that person for your eternity, for the legacy of 7 generations? So I think about that, but I don't forget. I don't want to forget.
Okay. Natasha?
So the question is, do you forgive and forget, or
not forgive, or forgive and not forget?
I think it depends. Like Janelle mentioned, like we never forget our past, or you know, the generational of traumas that was done to us. That's not something that we're just gonna get up and forget. But in order as a people to move on, to release and to heal as a community, I think in some aspect, you know, forgiveness, not for the oppressor, is important. But I think when it comes to like personal relationship, it's important to forgive and forget, because you don't want to be in a relationship and you like holding the person's. You said I forgive you, but still you're replaying. You know, like you did this, you, that type of thing. Because that will cause like a lot of conflict. I feel like in the long run, if when you're in like personal, like family relationship, and you're constantly bringing up the past and you're not really releasing that. But in some aspect, it's important to not to forgive and not forget. So I think it depends.
Okay.
It's not so like black and white.
Situational.
Yeah, situations.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree with what she said and what she said as well. I mean, I think forgetting implies that in certain ways you won't judge the person based on their past actions. You know, and I think it depends on what the situation is. You know, if it was like, you may work with somebody, right? Like you may have a friend that in regular life, y'all cool. But then if y'all happen to work together in the same workspace, y'all have different ambitions for what's going on in the workspace and different feelings about what that paycheck means to you. And that person may do something that you don't like in that workspace. And then outside of that, you may say to yourself, even though I don't like that, I'll forget it because it was the environment that we were in that caused that person to do me wrong.
Yeah.
And I'm fake speaking from experience, but like, I think the forgive and forget just depends on the situation. Yeah.
Okay. So consensus is situational.
Yeah. But always, you never forget, like, because that's how you grow as a human.
So forgive, remember, don't throw it in their face. If you're forgiving, essentially.
Yeah.
Is there ever a time you should throw it in somebody? You should throw it in somebody's face?
The problem is the person might be like, well, why don't you? And then your response will be because of this. And they may be like, well, why are you throwing that in my face? And it's like, but I'm answering your question. Like, this is the reason why I feel some type of way about trusting you with this.
So how do you convince somebody who responds in that manner? Like, they're trying to understand why you may be behaving a certain way, right? You give them an honest response. You haven't mentioned it, but now you're bringing it up in the context of the conversation. And they feel offended that you're holding on to something. What is your response to that at that point?
I release you. Like, I don't need... I'm not saying that I don't need that to be a thing, but I have to also think about my peace. And if that situation is causing me a discomfort and I'm letting you know that that is why I feel uncomfortable, and you are not able to be honest with yourself enough to respect that and to either make changes or to leave me the space to heal from that, then you are not a person that's invested in my growth. And that's okay, but I gotta release you on that note. You know, if I'm letting you know, yo, you did this, that hurt, and I don't really want to give you space yet to do that again. And you like, but why? Nah, bro, like I told you, like, and it's factual, and you know that it happened. It's no room for discrepancies. Then that's the universe saying, you know, we need to step back.
Okay.
I need to step back in that moment.
Okay. All right. Anybody else want to chime in?
I think it depends on the person.
Okay.
Like my dad, he's bad with memories. How many times like, Dad, so you don't call me, you know what I mean? And you know, and he was one of the hardest person for me to forgive because, you know, as a survivor of sexual trauma, like, you're never there for me. Like, you're the one that, you know, you should have protected me. And I carried so many baggage because that relationship wasn't intact, especially with him. And I had to rediscover my dad, and I had to realize his story and where he was coming from. And still a little bit pet peeve that I have about him not I guess being involved in a relationship. I had to learn to just accept that's just how he is, but his intentions is he means well. Okay. And I set up my boundaries, but I don't know. I guess I don't really take it as the more and more we develop a relationship. The wounds of the things that used to bother me, it doesn't bother me anymore. I don't know, because I accepted it, and I accept that's who he is. Not that he doesn't, like, he's doing it maliciously. Okay. So I transform my thinking around what is happening with him. Okay. And there's some other people, my friends, like, we talk about it. I'm very authentic with them about what I'm experiencing, what's happening, and we try to work on it. So I don't know.
It's good, and I'm glad you mentioned that. You want to touch?
Yeah, just to expand on it. It depends. Yeah. Like, I know with myself, and I'm sure a lot of people can relate. There may be something that you can't forgive somebody for, or that you can't. It's hard for you to be emotionally flexible enough to deal with that because maybe you're not in a good enough situation in life in general. You know what I mean? Like, if I'm like in shape and my money is right and everything is smooth, then it's easier for me to deal with. Okay, all right, boom, I'll move on for that. But if I'm messed up, am I allowed to curse?
Yeah, you say whatever you want. No, we got
8 episodes in. Am I allowed to curse? I just cursed on the last 12 though.
You asked that before.
Yeah, you did. We were like, go ahead.
I remember that.
I guess I'm about to let it loose. Nah, but like if I'm fucked up, like, it's much harder, and I'm speaking from experience, it's much harder for me to, like, not hold on to it. And like, when you talk about trauma, I feel like, and I'm sure you could speak more to that, like, trauma is sometimes viewed as this very stark thing where it's like, oh, you were in a car accident, or you were abused, or you were sexually assaulted. But sometimes there's like smaller traumas that people have in their life, and there's like emotional or chemical responses that you'll have to those small things that you don't have control over. So your mind may want to say forgive and forget, and then your body is like, I literally feel uncomfortable with this space that you're trying to hold with me. And you asking me why, and I'm like, yo, literally, this gives me anxiety, or this makes me feel fear, or, you know what I mean? And to them, because it's not a major trauma, they're like, it's not that big of a deal. Yeah. Why are you holding on to that? And so, yeah, it really depends on the situation.
Okay.
That's a trigger.
Yeah, trigger. Yeah, yeah.
I like all of those answers. I want to take something that Natasha said and expand on it. You basically said when it came to your father, you had to understand certain things he went through, right? So whenever you're thinking about the forgive and forget concept, right? Or forgive and not forget, whatever it is, and the forgiveness concept, do you take into consideration the context of where somebody else is coming from and what may have made them do what they did before you make a decision as to whether or not to forgive somebody? So if, let's say,
I did.
Okay.
Yeah.
I had before I went to therapy, like 3 years ago. And like I was sure like my dad is a monster, my mom's a monster, like they're both a monster. And the therapist said, "Did you ever ask them about their story?" Because I had this picture, this narrative of them abandoning me, because I had like a lot of things abandonment, them abandoning me, and I had that one story repeated about what they did to me.
Mm-hmm.
And I finally called my mom after like 15 plus years, and I spoke to her, and I finally get to ask her story. Why did you leave me? Why was I the only child that you really wasn't involved in? And when I heard her story, I know she was abandoned by her mom, and what she had to do to even survive as a woman in Jamaica.
Mm-hmm.
It made me have more empathy for her. I'm not saying that I forget what she did, but I understood.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I spoke to my dad and I heard his story, I was like, I understood. And I'm not saying I forget what happened, but it's more...
It added context. It didn't wash it.
Yeah, and I have a broader narrative,
Mm-hmm.
a picture differently in my mind now of how I can look at them. Not so much as these monsters, but, people just doing the best that they can with what they know.
Yes.
If you don't know, you don't know. You can't...
That's excellent. Just so sort of like having a book, you know where your portion of the book starts.
Yeah.
And where it ends or where it is now, but you don't know the filler in between.
Exactly.
So basically, you got the information in between.
Mm-hmm.
How about you, Osiris?
That's another big gray area too, because that concept of considering the context of what may have caused a person to do something, like that makes me think of and I feel like I know where you're gonna go with it, but it makes me think of like previous situation like R. Kelly, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so, long story short, real quick, I had made a song about me torturing R. Kelly last year,
Mm-hmm.
or 2 years ago. I shot a video for it and all that. It's funny as a video. And then when the story came out with the documentary this year,
Uh-huh.
I was like, all right, boom, boom, boom. I'm at peace with it. But then when I heard that he had been a victim,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if any of y'all saw the interview
With
with
his
his brother and that woman at the Chicago radio station.
Mm-hmm.
That was you saw that?
Yeah.
That was a super
I
heavy.
saw a clip on Instagram. I didn't saw the whole
Yeah,
video,
it was
but
heavy. It was heavy as hell, and not to say that I would forgive him for anything that he did personally, but after I found out that he had been a victim himself, I was like, I'm not gonna put that song out no more. I'm not gonna put that video out no more, because like at some level, like there has to be some level of understanding for the fact that he had gone through that. You know what I mean? And then to relate it to another person who, like, as a society, we haven't forgiven. I thought about like Chris Brown. Like, obviously, Chris Brown has done some malicious things, things that aren't very forgivable at all. But then I thought about an interview I had seen where Rihanna was like, "Yo, I forgive him because I know what he dealt with in the past, and he needs help, this, that, and the third." And so the gray area for me is like, it depends on who you are in that person's life. Like Rihanna is close to Chris Brown, so she could forgive him. On the outside looking in, if it's somebody who's a victim of trauma, you can't forgive that person because it may be triggering for you, and it's like, nah, I can't rock with that. And so, long story short, to bring it all together, it's like the gray areas of understanding context and what that means to you, depending on your distance to that context and to that person, like, is real.
That was good. I like both of those.
Thank you.
It's like,
I echo. I think I always try and teach my students to talk through the context of things, because it does help bring understanding. But I want to also say that we can never know the full context of somebody's reality and what factors outside of themselves or inside of themselves cause them to do things. And someone else stated that people are doing the best that they can with what they have. And if I put myself in their space or shoes mentally, and I think about whatever context I'm learning, and based on the context I'm learning, I don't feel that they did their action based out of malice. There was no malice intended. It's easier for me to be in a space of forgiving based on that context.
Yeah.
But if I get more information and feel, the sustained feeling that you were acting out of malice, you were acting in a space to, degrade or harm me or someone like me or someone I know, then it's harder for me to say, I give you, forgiveness. I give you forgiveness. And I still am working to be a person who gives forgiveness regardless, because I really do feel that, as you said, it does hold a chemical space in us that causes us to react in a way that we're not conscious of. And that can be dangerous, and that can be used against us. Because if I know that that's your trigger, I do this thing and you are off the rails. That's not good to give somebody else that much control over you, whether they know it or not. But that it also makes me less likely to forget. It's going to be on the forefront of my mind when I see you again. It might be before you, like it's you walk in the door, but that thing, that energy walks in before you. And so if I feel you did it out of malice, I'm gonna be like, that's gonna sit before you in my eyes. So yeah, context matters, but if I learn more and I feel like, you were just being, I'm gonna give you an example. Playing with my students today, we doing math, whatever. One of my students, he stutters, and so sometimes he gets, I can't remember the different types of stutter, but sometimes he gets into a rhythm and he is kind of, his breath is held on the stutter. So he was doing that today. And one of my students, she plays around a lot, but she started to mimic him. And I'm like,
Oh, really?
So he didn't get upset, but I was like, I'm going to talk to you later. And I think the context matters, because we were having fun. We were joking around. We were having a good math lesson. And I said to her, like, I know you were having fun. I know you were just playing around, but this is what you did and why it's not okay. But has she been doing it in a more malice way? I don't know if that's a word. But with intention to really make him feel like, oh, I'm about to get you. Like, I want you to feel bad. I don't believe that was the reason why she did it. She just was in a playful mood. And so from that perspective, I wanted her to know, like, it's okay to play, but blah, blah, blah. Like, this isn't okay, and this isn't how we play. So those little things matter. I got off topic.
No, you didn't. Not really. No, that was still on topic. Very much so, because that was a contextual situation. And then what you also did was you touched on the fact of how somebody may be perceiving what they're doing versus how another person may be perceiving what they're doing, which actually ties into what we're about to go into now. So, Jussie, right? There was a whole first, before I go in deep, we've already framed our concept of forgiveness, to forgive and forget, and then context, right? So I want you each, because I'm pretty sure you're all at least a little bit familiar with what happened. Are you? Natasha? Natasha was like,
let me tell you. This nigga.
All right, so
I'm not sure why he did it, but I think
the same boat.
But
there are several theories as to why. Some in which they say he said why, which I'll get into afterwards. But before we do that, let's just get your general opinion of the situation in general. Like, how did it make you feel? What were your thoughts about it? Like, did you care at all? How did the situation affect you? It can start. Anybody can start.
I'm ready to go in on this.
I felt like something was wrong from the beginning. As soon as I heard it, something didn't sit right with me. And quite frankly, the LGBT community is they go hard for each other. So much so that if you even speak something like, that don't sound right, you're getting came for. And I'm not one to do social commentary, but I just noted, that don't sound right to me. And if anyone who is a social commentary or who has social commentary says that, they're gonna get come for. So sometimes I listen to Tariq Nasheed, and he from jump said he didn't feel like this was real and things like that, or something was wrong. Comes out that it's not real, and it's just ridiculous. I don't fully understand why it was done. I have heard some theories. I don't engage with a lot of what's going on, but I think that the sad part of it is that it's going to be more difficult for if someone is experiencing something real for them to be heard in a way that is like, yeah, I definitely believe you, because that was ridiculous. I don't know. It's so ridiculous to me.
That was good though.
Yeah.
All it is opinion, so that's all we're looking for.
It's so ridiculous.
Who wants to jump in next? No, Natasha, you gotta go.
Yes,
go ahead. Natasha's gonna go first.
Okay. At first I heard the story like, oh, poor Jesse, and then I don't know. It seemed very bizarre for me for someone to go through that extreme. To really, I don't know what agenda you're trying to push, but I don't know. I'm like, why? I'm still like on the why as a person that's into like mental health. I'm like, why? Why would you go through that length to hire people to get fakes beat up, and then
Girl, he got real beat up.
Oh, to get real beat up, and then the one on camera. It's just bizarre to me, and I'm still like, I hope he has a therapist, someone to talk to, because that's a lot going on there, and he may hurt himself because the whole world's against him, kind of thing. So yeah, I hope he's getting help. That's about it.
Okay. Oh.
Well, I mean, first of all, I'm glad that we found out that the story is questionable, because when I first heard it, Erykah Badu is the first person that I saw people saying questioned it. And I was like, oh, Erykah, what are you doing right now? Like, they about to have your head, especially after you just was like saying some pro R. Kelly-ish type comments. And everybody was like, oh, she's done, da-da-da-da. And I believed it. And then, later on, as the story developed, you saw all the holes and whatnot. And I mean, first of all, I appreciate Justy, because I've had a lot of laughs because of him. And like, there was a moment while I was watching the video online, and I literally fell off my couch dying laughing. And I really appreciate him for bringing this level of entertainment to the world.
Oh my goodness.
Was this the what's his name's video? The comedian, the African dude.
The guy
Trevor Noah.
No, not that one. There was another one that came out around the same time. I think I said to you, where homeboy came out the deli.
Yes.
He was like, "The gay Tupac, what's up?" That shit had me dying, bro. The two guys reading off the script. Oh, man. But I had a lot of laughs because of it. Some of the things that the lady said is very true. There's certain levels of lying. There's different levels of lying. It's like, so, I teach middle school kids. All they do is lie. Like, they just lie automatic. You know what I mean? Like, they be like, fuck! And I'm like, what did you say? Like, I said shit. They're like, no, I said, damn. Like, yo, bro, I just literally looked at you and you said fuck out loud. And you telling me you said something different. Because that's just a defense mechanism that they have. Yeah. But when you press them, they like, let go. Like, he did this and then went on Good Morning America and gave this Oscar, Tony, Emmy, like, give him the EGOT, because that performance right there, if you watch it, it's like flawless. Tears, everything. And so that's a little scary to take it to that level, I still think there's something that we haven't heard yet. Yeah. I feel like there's some missing piece of information. And not just having to do with his motive, but like maybe something else, because it's just like such a spooky story. Yeah. And like they said, I feel like he did a disservice to the Black and LGBTQ community by doing that, because not to say that anybody that doesn't believe any hate crime victims in the future, wouldn't believe them before, but now they have like an actual tool to be like, well, you might be on some Jussie shit. And that's something that just holds emotional space for people now. And so that's unfortunate. But yeah, it's wild. It's hilarious, but it's wild.
Can I also say
Go ahead.
that your man's was supposedly out in Chicago at 2 a.m.
In negative 20.
February in Chicago at 2 a.m.
I'm gonna tell you this. If somebody has it out for you, right?
And they doing that,
and they coming out their crib at 2 a.m. in negative 20-degree weather.
Oh yeah.
That means they got a deep, fierce hate for you. If I'm coming to see you at negative 20-degree weather, I got a real issue. Like, I'm trying to take your life, and then you only come away with like a little ribs. Like what? Came over with a little scratch on his face and fake bruised ribs, and that's what somebody did to you with negative 20-degree weather at 2 a.m. And somehow your Subway sandwich is still intact.
But that's why he said they were white people, because white people, negative 20 degrees is like 50 degrees to them. Remember, they come out in shorts.
Then he should have got beat worse than that.
Who was that voice? Where did that voice come from?
He should have got worse than that.
Like the fact that he came out flawless. He came out flawless from it.
Flawless victory.
It's just like, it didn't make no sense for if it was warmer,
It's too cold.
he probably still could have gotten away with it.
That was when I was like, I don't know. That don't sound right. 20 degrees.
And another thing, my fault.
No, go ahead.
Like,
Y'all flowing.
Honestly, I feel like he would have gotten away with it if he said that it was two MAGA supporting black men. Because white people got too much time on their hands. I saw a video, I didn't watch the whole shit, but I saw a video online where this dude reenacted Jussie Smollett's entire path. 20-minute video, 30-minute video. He's on a bike with a camera, reenacting the entire path, checking cameras. He's not a detective. He's not Magnum PI. He's just some regular cat with a camera, just doing this. And it's like, yo, if you gonna lie on these MAGA motherfuckers, they're gonna make sure that every nook and cranny is explored, you know? And I feel like if he said it was some black folk, nobody would have really investigated it.
That's true.
And he probably still would have gotten most of what he wanted from it. I mean, I don't know what he wanted from it, but yeah, sorry.
Okay, so here's the question, just real quick. Were you offended at all in the lie? Once the lie surfaced, were you offended by it?
I was offended by the reactions on both sides, before and after it was exposed. Before the lie was exposed, the LGBTQ community was ready to shame anyone who said that it was possibly not true. After the lie was exposed, the LGBTQ community distanced themselves from it and was like, oh, he black, that's y'all. I don't want to hear that. No, I'll keep that same energy. That was your man's, right? Like, be with your man's. So I just was more like not pleased with that, but I wasn't surprised. Offended? No, because I didn't believe it from jump. I thought something was wrong from jump. I don't know that I was offended.
Do you feel it'll personally affect you in any way?
Yes, I do. It goes back to what I said is the possible, and I think probable downside of this is that if someone says that they have been impacted by a hate crime or some malicious behaviors, that there's possibility for it not to be believed.
Okay.
I wasn't impacted.
I wasn't impacted at all. It didn't bother me.
That's the world we live in. I'm pretty sure Justin is not the first or the last person to tell a big lie. So I try not to get so involved with the insanity of this world.
Okay. Oh, sorry.
I wasn't offended. I think I was more offended or taken aback at just people's lack of tolerance for each other's opinions about the situation. yeah, I wasn't offended by it, but it's just, I think it might actually be a good thing, because I think sometimes the, especially in social media, the groups of people who are progressive are not usually in this space where it's like, oh, somebody that we was riding for actually fucked up. And in defense of him, a lot of people are saying very similar things that they were mad at other people saying in defense of people that they didn't like. And it's like, oh, it's not about that, but they're saying the same, oh, well, what about this person? What about this? And so hopefully this will be a reflective moment where everybody realizes, oh, we be saying the same shit when we're riding for somebody that we fuck with. Maybe there's different levels to understanding shit now. That's what I hope. Maybe just as a fucking prophet.
Okay, so let's take that and we're gonna take it another step. So in the spirit of everybody seeing that this can happen to anybody. So let's say that that's the concept. And keeping that same energy whenever it's anybody, despite whatever group you might identify with. Do you feel the people in most recent times, and we'll give a list of some people. So we got R. Kelly, Bill Cosby, Jussie, and I'll touch on some Chrisette Michele, Kanye West. Let's look at them, right? Do you feel that they should be forgiven for what they've done? And you can jump in and throw a name out there that you want to specifically touch on, or somebody who you feel, and you don't even got to go in depth. You can say yes, or you can say yes, no, this is why I feel this way. Feel free. Actually, we'll start with Natasha this time. You can take your pick out of any of them. Don't you hate that? Like when you're in a class and the teacher's like, everybody else got their hand up, and there's that one kid who's like, nah, and they're like,
That's
you
right.
over there with the gum on the desk.
Should we forgive them?
You personally, or the community in general. Up to you, however you want to frame it.
I don't really hold any grudges towards celebrities.
Mm-hmm.
A bunch of people like everybody else. If I want to pick one person, I did hold a grudge with Chris Brown. I'm gonna be honest about that. Yeah, because I used to love Rihanna, and I did hold a grudge against him for like what he did, like he beat her up and all that thing. And after a while, when I heard his story about how he raised up in an abusive home, with his mom getting abused, then again, I had more understanding for him, more compassion towards his story. Not that I'm excusing his behavior, but a lot of these things that people do, they're learned behaviors. Sexual molestation is a learned behavior. Nobody just get up one day like, I want to be a molester. It's something that's learned, that they see, and kids model anything you do, they model what what happened to them. So I'm in a space of towards anyone more understanding and compassion. Doesn't mean that I forgive you. Not that I forgive you, but I don't hold any, I guess, negative energy towards a person. So
I'm gonna have you. Okay, just real quick, just ask. Did you see his documentary?
Who, Chris Brown?
Yeah,
I did not.
you should watch that.
Okay.
Because it'll also give you some more context into the situation. And then I would probably want to ask you the question again after you see that specific side of the story. But we obviously don't have time to touch on that.
Okay.
You mean we're not about to watch a documentary right now in the middle of the recording?
We are not. So, Osiris, you can pick somebody and frame your answer around that person.
Forgive them all. No, actually, in general, I think everybody has space for forgiveness, unless they're like straight up a sociopath, and or like just literally their desire is to harm people, and there's no existence for them where they're not doing that. And those people don't need to be forgiven; they need to be separated. But in general, I think Chrisette and Jussie, they didn't harm, those are victimless crimes. You know what I mean? Jussie was the only victim. You know what I mean? I'm sure it was R. Kelly. Oh, and Kanye, I'm sorry. You said Kanye, right? Yeah, Kanye, Chrisette, and Jussie. Forgive them niggas. Laugh at them niggas all day. Bare jokes. You know what I mean? But at the end of the day, like, yo, first of all, Kanye lost his mom. He has mental health issues. Chrisette, she had mental health issues. She got blackballed. She lost her baby. Like, mad shit. Like, people be blown. Like, people get me tight with how people just be wishing the worst on people just for fucking opinions. I can understand R. Kelly and Chris Brown because they did violent shit towards people. But just because somebody has a different opinion from you, bro, like, that shit is just whack. Like, that shit is just animalistic. And it's just like, you shouldn't, like, I have people that I have beef with that I wouldn't wish for their whole life to just fall apart the way these people's lives have fallen apart. And so just in general, forgive them all, especially if they a lot of times we grow up in spaces, today I had to break up a fight between these two old guys in this restaurant because they was arguing and one pulled out a knife and then me and my coworkers had to jump in between. And, it's like, my other coworker was like, yo, you would think at that age, it was like, yo, when you grow up in spaces where nobody's ever forgiving of anything, where nobody's ever like trying to hear you out, then you always gonna be on some type shit. You feel me? And sometimes people just need somebody to be like, yo, I see where you're coming from. I hear your pain, but you feel me? When I talked to one of these dudes today, not to like toot my own or anything, he was like, yo, he was talking about my mom. This dude was probably like 60 years old. And I was like, yo, I hear you. I understand where you're coming from. I totally feel where you're coming from. But just don't ruin your weekend. And he shook my hand. He was like, thank you. And I'm sure he only shook my hand because I said I understand. You know what I mean? 95% of the time people want to deal with conflict, they never want to hear or understand what somebody's emotions or feelings are. Just hear what people have to say. And if they're willing to make a compromise, forgive them and keep it moving. That's community to me.
Powerful. Look at you over here, orator.
Bars.
Got it. I know. Bars, no rhymes in it.
Save a day.
All these quotables. All right. So just now.
Yes. I definitely agree. Forgive them. I want to go a different direction on why. I think about this age of celebrity and this age of like everything I do is possible to be captured. And there's no space for me to just be in a space of solitude if you are a celebrity. This is a sad situation, but one of my sister's friends, her 21st birthday, she went down to Miami. She was drunk and driving. And I hope I'm not telling too much information, but she ended up passing away because she tried to get away from the people who were videotaping her drive drunk and ended up crashing.
Wow.
The other person in the car was also my sister's good friend. He was hurt but survived. But that shit is real. Like, you can actually cause people to harm themselves based on like, I want to capture. And I always say I would never want to be in a space where I have no space to myself. Like, that is so harmful. I've heard that Prince didn't really like getting his picture taken. Don't take my photo. Like, no, this is a moment. How can I be present if I'm thinking about how it's going to be captured all the time? And I empathize with the celebrities in general because I would not want that life. So I forgive for that reason first because they are celebrity and having that amount of that energy around you all the time. I wouldn't do well with it.
Okay, that's actually really, really good. I guess we can tie it up for this. We'll close it out in 1 minute, I guess. Yeah, got like a minute. So y'all can give like your quick final thoughts. Not gonna frame it on anything specific, but just try and keep in line on your thoughts of forgiveness and how we need to apply it today. And yeah, we can leave it at that. Just forgiveness and how we need to apply it today, if at all. We'll start with you now.
Okay.
Natasha was like, "Oh, you gonna call on me again?"
So, I was thinking of a quote since Natasha said quotes, and not forgiving is like drinking poison and expecting your enemy to die. Forgive me, I don't know who said it, but I believe it was an ancient Chinese philosopher. Tell me what it is. Do you know what it is? I want to say Lao Tzu, but
Ooh,
I can't
he could say
remember.
something like that.
Forgive me, but that's my quote. Forgive y'all. Do that. It's good. That's what I got.
We'll go with.
Oh yeah, nah. Actually I don't know. Yeah, go ahead.
I feel like self-mastery is a goal.
Mhm.
So the more you work on you and the more you heal you, then these triggers and these things that you hold, you to release it. So forgiveness is one of the ways of releasing all these things that you're storing in your body, mentally, physically, and spiritually. So forgiveness is one vehicle that would help you to release.
Yeah, I say just remember that everybody is going through something. You know, if we really want to be honest about, if we really want to believe in, you know, descendants of slavery suffering from PTSD from the results of it, we don't, like, you would never go to a space where trauma survivors are being like unforgiving towards each other. And so if we really do believe that we're trauma survivors, then let's deal with each other that way.
Yeah.
Okay, so we are going to finish this up because we are nearing the end in all aspects. our batteries are running low.
That was fast.
I know, it was,
Yeah.
seemingly, because it was efficient this time.
It was an hour?
It's about to be.
Oh, wow.
Soon come.
That's
Soon
nice.
come.
About to be. So we're going to enter our last portion, which is the remix portion.
Remix.
If Justin gave you $3,500.
Just to say,
The whole play.
would you have? No, I should have asked that. That would have been funny. Would you have taken part in it? Would you have snitched? Would you have said?
I'm serious. I ain't going down with that nigga.
Here is the question, and this is an individual question. You go to sleep, and you wake up, and you realize you're buried in a box alive.
Ooh.
And you have nothing but your phone on you. But seems like there's no signal. What would you do? Would you make an attempt to get out? Would you try and make a call as long as you could? Would you just give up?
How much battery I have?
Let's say you're on 8%.
Judgmental.
I'm sorry.
My phone actually has had some problems the past 24 hours, and I have no signal. So this is very
Yeah, you're
scary.
feeling it.
I
Uh-huh.
don't know if I'm gonna go to sleep. You know, it's a little scary. I don't know.
Is anybody in here claustrophobic?
I mean, yeah. We're in a box. That's
So you're in a box, like I mean, tight, like where you can't roll over, like you're on your back, and you can't roll. You can grab, you can move your arms, like shift a little bit to get it like in your pocket, out, get the phone up. Like just don't drop it near your feet because it's a wrap. Like you're not gonna be able to kick it up, but you get it. You might like put it on your chest or something, and then you be able to do one of these little I'm at late at night, drop it on my face, phone holder thing. But 8% battery life, locked in a box. You don't know how deep you are. You could be outside for all you know. And all you got to do is go through. But the question is, what would you do? Because if you're not outside and you try and break that box and dirt starts coming in. But anyway, go ahead. Like, let's
I mean, because I don't know where I am, I would try to get out. I would try to break through. Like the person who buried me might have been lazy and only buried me 2 feet. I'm tired. And so it'd be easy to break through the soil if I happen to break through wood, if it's wood.
You
I'll
would
try
come
to
out
get
like
out.
Thriller?
Huh?
Come out like Thriller?
Come out like
Yeah, hell yeah. Oh, it makes me think of this. I don't know if you
Beatrice
guys listen to
Kiddo.
Lupe Fiasco.
Yeah.
Is it The Cool on Food and Liquor? Where the guy
yes,
was buried.
Yes, I was thinking about that too.
He was looking for the buried sunshine, like a reverse archaeologist. That line. Yeah, I would just try to get out. I'd try to dig my way out.
That's a good song.
So no attempt at making a phone call.
If I got no signal, what do we do?
I mean, you could.
8%.
We've all tried to get signals, like even in small parts. You wouldn't try at all.
Who do you
Oh, yeah,
call?
I'm gonna try. Yeah, and then let's get
Where would
busy.
you say that you are?
Live in a box.
Oh,
Pick my
I'm
location.
probably-
Let me share my location on Facebook.
Oh, that's a good one. Share my location.
Ah,
But you gotta have signal to do that.
yeah.
But if you play it,
If I got signal, it's a totally different story.
I feel like somebody gonna check for Wi-Fi, but okay.
I think I would break out or try to get out as
Yeah.
well. I'm glad I asked how much percent. 8% is not worth the energy, I think. I would rather give the energy to trying to break out first, and then if that doesn't work, then
It's 8% to log into Instagram. No, I'm joking.
Right.
And there's gotta be oxygen in the soil,
yeah.
right? Some level.
I mean,
I
yeah.
have
I don't know.
no idea.
Soil is not compact. It's like spaces where oxygen could live,
I
right?
hope so.
Pockets, yeah.
Yeah, word. I think so.
So we are going to wind it down real quick, super quick. So in closing on that, you would try to get out?
I would try to get out. I mean, panic is hell, but I'll try to get out.
Do you think you would pass out from the panic? So if you pass out, you're probably not waking back up.
No, I don't need panic, but then I get in survival mode like and go and find solutions.
Inch punching
Yeah.
the box.
Word.
Depends. Maybe there's sunlight and you're like, oh, I can see the sunlight through my So, you know,
Okay.
so many things you can think about.
Osiris, you still trying to get out?
Yeah, I think
It's like, oh yeah.
So the newspaper really died fighting.
Janelle.
I was thinking about Kel Bell, and she got out of the box, so I'm
Okay.
I like to think I get out of the box too.
One of my favorite movies.
That's a good movie.
Okay, so and it is funny because she punched out and just like climbed out.
She was wilding.
Beatrix Kiddo.
She made it.
All right, so we got our question. I could have thrown a zombie in the box or a poisonous snake, a lizard, but we're not gonna go there. So we're gonna leave this as it is. No timer with a bomb that's gonna blow up and nothing. So before we as we close out, I want everybody first off thank y'all again. As always, y'all are awesome. Give your social media, your name again, social media, and then we're gonna pass it around and we're gonna close out. So starting.
Natasha _ Dezoni DEZONIE on Instagram and follow me there.
Cyrus Anthem on IG. It's Maroon Waters.
Janelle Naomi and JanelleNaomi.com.
I am Nay Marie at Taji Magazine.
I am Will Focus at the one Will Focus on all social media. And this is CC the series. Thank you guys again for coming out. You can check us out on YouTube and Instagram, CC the series. We love you all.
And if you like what you're seeing, please join us on Patreon so we can keep this going.
And yeah, hit us up with conversation topics. And if you are in the New York area and you want to join in on the conversation, hit us up. You can email us or contact us on social media. All right? Take it easy.
Peace, y'all.
Peace and Jesse.